people hear the name Comanche, they often think of an exciting and dangerous time in Texas history. The Comanche lived in bands scattered throughout most of Texas. Each band was ruled by a peace chief and a war chief. Their skill in battle made the Comanche the lords of the plains. Before the Comanche came to Texas, they were one of the bands of the Shoshone Indians of the northern Rocky Mountains. No one knows exactly why, but they moved to New Mexico in the early 1700s. They found horses the Spanish left behind. It didn't take long for them to become some of the finest horsemen in North America.
These people are Comanche, as are these. And these. They were once known as the Lords of the Plains, the famous Southern Horse Indians. Along with their contemporaries, the Kiowa tribe, the Comanche played a pivotal role in the creation of the United States as we know it today. More than any other native people, the fierce Comanche warriors shaped Texas in its early years. Yet today, the Comanche have all but disappeared from Texas.
The Comanche were bison hunters. They had dozens of ways of using the bison. Many of the things the Comanche needed to survive came from these animals. All year they followed the bison. Sometimes this took them out of Texas and far to the north or the west. School for a Comanche boy was learning how to handle horses. Warriors taught them how to fight on horseback. The warriors knew how to make a horse-moving shield. While the horse was galloping at full speed, a Comanche warrior could hang over the side of his horse and shoot arrows underneath the horse's neck. School for Comanche girls was learning how to put up and take down a teepee. They also learned to tan hides to make them into useful things. These fearless warriors on horseback pushed into Texas, forcing the tribes who were already there to leave or die. In less than 100 years, the Comanche controlled the southern plains.
Horses. The horse was about to change Native American life like no other event had ever done. By 1700, all of the tribes of Texas had horses. Most used them as beasts of burden to transport goods and people. But to other tribes, horses became an integral part of life, and a unique new culture emerged centered around the animals. The horse culture. These tribes included the Sioux, Cheyenne, Arapaho, Pawnee, Kiowa, and a tribe new to Texas, but soon to be closely linked with its history, the Comanche. After 1700, the Comanche had rapidly moved south, perhaps drawn by word of the Spanish horses and the lure of great concentrations of buffalo. By 1750, the Comanche had driven the Apache and the Tonkawa off the Great Plains, creating a vast empire called Comancheria. It covered over 24,000 square miles and included parts of Colorado, Kansas, Texas, New Mexico, and western Oklahoma. The horse allowed the Comanche and other tribes to move onto the plains and effectively hunt the vast herds of buffalo and antelope. With buffalo and horses, these Indians had riches equal to any culture in North America. The buffalo provided food, shelter, clothing, tools, rope, bedding, even fuel. The abundant food supplies encouraged a population explosion. And the horse gave them mobility and, for the first time, a way to deal effectively with the Europeans. With the buffalo providing ample food supplies, the horse culture Indians had plenty of time for other activities, particularly warfare and raiding enemies.
Teepee is very important for the Comanche lifestyle because it allowed them to be mobile. Consider it like a modern-day tent. The women in the Comanche tribe were responsible for setting up and tearing down the teepees. This allowed them to be able to travel anywhere they wanted and quickly set up their camps and quickly tear them down. So they were never in one place for too long, and these items were very light to carry and easily transportable.
Because so little is known about the Comanche prior to the emergence of the horse culture, they have always been something of a mystery. We do know they are part of the Shoshone language group, and the name Comanche comes from their traditional enemies, the Utes, and means stranger. The sign language symbol for them is a snake down the chest. Like most Indian tribes, they called themselves simply the people, or in their own language, Nurm. Their adoption of the horse and their expansion onto the plains was the beginning of a truly remarkable tale about the greatest of the horse culture riders and breeders of horses without equal. The basic unit of Comanche culture was the band. A band was a loosely organized, family-based hunting group of around 100 people. Its members were free to move from one band to another, and evidence shows the groups were quite fluid. While the bands may have had differences, the Comanche always considered themselves as one people. The Comanche hunted with bows and arrows, using short bows that worked well from horseback. Arrow tips were made first from flint and then metal. They also acquired guns, but reloading took a considerable amount of time, and on horseback, a Comanche warrior could fire many deadly arrows for each gunshot. Unlike the Northern Plains Indians, the Comanches did not come together for great communal hunts or dances. From their smaller band celebrations, only a few Comanche dances survive. One is the brush dance, still performed today at powwows.
This brush dance was a means of celebration for the return of the warriors that went off to battle, and the people that were in the encampment waiting for the warriors to return would put on their best regalia to welcome these warriors home. That drum is the centerpiece of the whole powwow. It's like the earth. The earth is round, and everything in that circle, it touches. That drum, it's alive itself, because they make the drum out of various different animal hides. That hide comes alive when you start beating on it.
Comanche dances are comparatively simple, like many other aspects of the culture. Perhaps this is because the Comanche spent much of their time warring and raiding enemies. As a warrior culture, they would need to keep things simple and mobile. Interestingly, the Comanche had no permanent military organization or ranking. Anyone who was feeling powerful might lead a war or raiding party. Although they were chiefs, they were rarely allowed to tell people what to do, and their power over others lasted for only a short time.
The Comanche didn't have such a good relationship with the settlers because the settlers pushed in on their land and started hunting the bison and the buffalo aggressively. Comanche war parties raided settlers' homes to try to drive them away. They usually killed the men and the women. If the women were spared, they might become enslaved. Children were often taken back into their camps and raised as Comanche. Cynthia Ann Parker was the most famous captive. She married a Comanche warrior. Their son became a Comanche chief named Cynthia Parker. Most people think the U.S. Army defeated the Comanche and other Plains Indians, but other things helped end the American Indian way of life too. Diseases like smallpox and cholera killed many during the 1800s. White buffalo hunters killed bison by the thousands. With fewer and fewer bison, the native people could not survive. Most moved to the reservations set up by the U.S. government. And finally, our exit ticket. Question 1. What did the Comanche hunt to survive? A. Dinosaurs. B. Buffalo. C. Snakes. Or D. Mice. Question 2. What did the Spanish leave that would change the Comanche forever? A. Lettuce. B. Apple trees. C. Horses. D. Their phone numbers. And question 3. Teepees are similar to the blank that we have today. So is that A. Similar? Teepees are similar to the tents that we have today. B. Teepees are similar to the igloos that we have today. C. Teepees are similar to the houses that we have today. Or D. Teepees are similar to the alphabet that we have today. Thank you so much. Have a great day.